If I may, before we start, is that I think what's important tonight is for us to hear from the public, not necessarily to espouse our position.
They already know.
That's right.
They already know yours in regards to the, what council is proposing.
I have a question from Bill Wilson, and that is, does it matter if they're a permanent resident or just a tax-paying citizen? And I would say as long as they're a taxpayer, they have a right to their comments, right?
Absolutely.
I would say so.
Okay. We are live, by the way.
Yes, we are. We are at live streaming on YouTube.
Okay, I'm muting.
Okay, it is 6 o'clock too. So Cindy, do you let all of the panelists in before we open the meeting?
They are already attending.
Okay. All right. It is 6 o'clock, so I'm going to call the meeting to order. And our first item is approval of the agenda. I have a motion moved by Tom Dewey and seconded by Nikki Gowdy that the agenda for the special meeting held November the 16th, 2021 be approved as presented. Any questions or comments on the motion? All those in favor? Motion's carried. Is there any disclosure, pecuniary interest, or general nature thereof on any item on tonight's agenda by any member of council? Okay, seeing none, we'll note that in the minutes. Mayor's remarks. My remarks are basically to talk about what we're here to do tonight. And that is we are here to hear comments on the options of changing the size of council. We have folks with us who have registered to speak, and I would ask those who are speaking to try to limit your comments to 5 minutes or so. I will read a motion and then we will hold voting on that motion until we hear comments. And once all the comments have been received, we'll have someone from the office sort of give us a tally of what we've received in writing. And then we will roll all of these up and it will come to our next council meeting for further discussion and maybe decision. So on that note, I'll read the motion that we're going to be dealing with. That is moved by Philip Smith and seconded by Brent Cameron. Whereas council agreed at the September 28th meeting to hold a virtual public meeting for the purpose of considering a reduction in the size of council. And whereas council is considering option 4, which would change the composition of council from 9 members to 5 members. And whereas council is encouraging input from the public prior to council making a final decision. Now, therefore, be it resolved that council receive the input from the public meeting and have staff bring it forth for the final decision at the next regular meeting scheduled November the 23rd, 2021. So we're not going to vote on that motion until we hear all of the comments from the people that are with us tonight. So Cindy, I'll turn it over to you to allow folks to come in. I would ask that you give us your name and where your residence is. So who wants to start?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Before we start with the public input, I just wanted to mention to folks who may not be familiar with Zoom that if you do wish to speak, if you can use the raise hand feature down at the bottom of your screen to let me know that you wish to speak, and then I can move you over so you have the ability to do so. If you're joining by telephone this evening, you can raise your hand by dialing *9, and then that will move you over and you'll receive a notice when you're unmuted. So if you have any questions about that, you can let me know. Otherwise, if anyone does wish to speak, can they please use the raise hand feature and we'll start the process. We have a taker. I'm going to move over Mitchell Loftman. Okay,
Good evening, everyone. Thank you.
good evening.
So,
Hello, Mitchell, go ahead.
thank you, Madam Mayor. So we sent out a survey on Big Clear Lake Association, and there are some mixed reviews, but the vast majority believe that having 2 councillors per ward gives us more input and a diverse of different opinions. So from our perspective, we would like to see it stay at 2 councillors per ward.
So status quo.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Madam Mayor, what association was that?
Big Clear Lake.
Big Clear Lake.
Thank you.
Thank
Mitchell,
you.
how many members would roughly be in Big Clear Lake Association?
We've roughly got about 60 members currently online.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay. And if there is anyone else who wishes to speak, and use the raise hand feature.
I guess the question is the folks that are on the call tonight, maybe some have made written submissions or have sent an email. But if you haven't, please feel free to give us your opinion. That's what we want to do tonight, is hear what you think we should do. Don't be shy.
Oh, here we go. Just a moment, please. I'm going to move over Bill Wilson. You can go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Hello, Bill.
Hi, how are you? I did do a submission. It was, albeit quite short. I'm a strong believer in smaller government. And I think that from a population perspective, the size of council now in comparison to other areas of the densities, I think we're probably overrepresented. And that's what my opinion is on this. However, I do fully sympathize with the fact that there's so much work to go around that it's hard to have a fewer number of council members to head up all the different committees and so on. But at the end of the day, being sympathetic for that, I still think that overall we would be better off with option 4 for sure. That's all I had to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Okay. Is there anyone else wishing to speak? Please use the raise hand feature. Mr. Fisher, I'm going to move over Ken Fisher.
Hello, Ken.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
First of all, I'm quite surprised at the slowness of citizens wanting to address this issue. So I felt I would listen for 20 minutes and maybe say something, but no, I'm going to say something now.
Okay.
The smaller the government is, the greater we, the citizens, have to rely on the bureaucracy of the township. There is a diminished sense of, what would I call it, connection to the bureaucracy, supervision, consultation, and the bureaucracy is our way of getting things done in the township. And by and large, we've got a very good bureaucracy. But also from time to time, things occur where if there were a smaller size council, I think some things would slide by and we would have by default, the decisions and the implementation, the sensitivities would be left to our bureaucrats, God bless them all, to decide and to deliver. So along with Mitchell's comments about stay at 2 because there's better representation and more diversity of points of view, I would want to add, and this is my personal opinion, I'm not speaking for any group when I say this, it's my 13 years of living here that I'm speaking from. that I would, as overrepresented as some comparisons might make this, I'm very at home with the representation that we have with two persons. God bless you all for volunteering to do this hard work and all the time that you put into it, but I'm all in favor of the status quo.
Okay, thank you, Ken.
Okay, if there's anyone else wanting to speak, please use the raise hand feature. Okay, we have Daniel by 4. I'll move you over.
Hello, Daniel.
Yeah, good evening, Council, and thank you, Ms. Mayor Smith, for allowing me to ask a question. I'm a resident owner, not a resident owner in Big Clear, and part of the Big Clear Lake Association. I guess I would look at remaining with the status quo. And also, I think it's important to have representation locally around the Arden area. There's various concerns. I can list them at length of what's happening now and the current state of infrastructure, so on and so forth, around the lake. And we feel as taxpayers that we deserve the right to have the representation. So I'm just promoting my stand behind the Lake Association and personal stand for status quo. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your comments.
Okay, if there's anyone else wishing to speak, you can use the raise hand feature. Okay, we've got Terry Kennedy. Oh, ability to talk is not available because Terry Kennedy is using an older version of Zoom. I'm going to promote him to a panelist, so that'll move him over as a panelist instead. There he is.
Is my promotion now in effect?
It is. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. It's been a long time since I've had a promotion. Madam Mayor, thank you.
Only in Central Frontenac. Go ahead, Terry.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. I'm on Kennebec Lake and with the Kennebec Lake Association. And I've got a couple of remarks I'd like to make. By way of introduction, like many people, certainly as waterfront residents, I have found that my property taxes are killing me. And like many, I've had some concerns from time to time that council makes decisions with which I have trouble agreeing and border on the dumb in my own mind from time to time. And like many, I've found some individual councillors' politics are unusual. And I have had the experience of being defamed by at least one councillor in the odd meeting. Now, having said this, when I look at the savings proposed to the end of some $64,000 to move from a council of 9 to a council of 5, the $64,000 as a portion of the 2021 overall budget for Central Frontenac, if my math is correct, I make that out to be about a 0.7% savings. And that's pretty small potatoes. When I look at the operating budget for the township, I see that, for example, building services, on the other hand, has increased from a 2020 level to a 2021 level at an increase that is more than double year over year, with a 106% increase to $143,398 difference year over year. So the thing that it would seem to me, and while I admire council and you folks for bringing this motion forward and being gutsy, if I may say so, enough to look at this, and precious few politicians would be prepared to do this, looking at eliminating potentially some of your own numbers. I think that's an act of courage, and I admire that. But I think we would be better served as a township if we looked at a more overall kind of thing. And that's why I pointed out the building services increase. And I'm sure Michael and various others could point out why that's been a necessity. But I would suggest that there be a review, that be a larger thing, that we look at how we are in terms of comparable jurisdictions, not just with the political representation, but how we are with staffing levels, because we always seem to be having an organizational creep in terms of size and jobs and roles. But in some way, if we could look at the total picture, I would prefer that. And of course, the usual way would be an outside consultant, and that's a pricey kind of option, and we'd all hesitate on that. Whether there be a committee of council that's dedicated to that purpose, or whether there be a series of public sessions that could look at the overall picture and be prepared to get in some depth and really dig away, because I would like to see some relief on my property taxes, but I think we've got a larger picture than reducing the size of our members of council. Thank you very much, Madam Mayor.
Okay. Thank you, Terry.
Madam Mayor, may I just ask Terry a question in regard, do you have, if you were actually looking at the reduction of council, would you prefer an option or to change, or the status quo would be your position?
Madam Mayor, through you to Bill, my leaning would be to preserve the status quo at this point, pending a larger kind of a review against comparables.
Thank you.
I think just to add, the only comparables that we could show folks is we did have a list of municipalities of our size and what the numbers of their politicians were. And I think this is one of the reasons this was brought forward. There are only a few that we could probably count on one hand that are our size in population with 9 councillors. So that's some of the background behind why this was brought forward. Okay, someone else?
I have a request from Mitchell Laughlin again. I'll move you over. And Terry, I don't think I can remove you as a panelist without kicking you out of the meeting altogether. So can I just ask you to turn your video off for now? And unless you want to speak again, you can use the raise hand feature. Thank you.
Will do. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, Madam Mayor. Just to echo on Terry's comments and your comments, a big concern that a lot of people have is that the deck is going to be stacked in the matter of voting on proposals and when you guys propose legislation and things that are to be done. And that's why people want a couple different opinions moving forward. People don't trust the process. I'm going to be honest with you. And the reduction of council, a lot of people think that it's going to be a few of you guys that are just going to make these decisions based on your own agendas, not based on us. And that's just being frank. And I think that's what this meeting is all about, right?
Yeah, exactly. Say it the way it is.
And you know what? I can speak on behalf of my lake association and on behalf of myself. And I've had conversations with Tom Dewey in the past. Whatever I can do, and I know we have several volunteers, whatever we can do to help counsel you, Madam Mayor, to prosper this community, to whatever it is, we have more than enough hands that are raised to help.
Yes, and we do have lots of skilled people out there for sure.
That's
Without
great.
volunteers, our municipality would not get half of the things done. We really appreciate that.
Well, you know, we can't thank you guys enough. And trust me, we don't take your jobs for granted. We thank you for your volunteer effort. But whatever we can do to help as well, we want to be involved in the process as much as we can. It's a beautiful area. It's a beautiful community. Whether it's Big Clear Lake, Kennebec Lake, Big Gull Lake, whatever we can do, I think teamwork is the name of the game tonight, right?
For sure. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, if there's anyone else who wishes to speak, can you use the raise hand feature? Okay, we'll move Daniel Biofor over.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Go
Just a clarification. When we say that we've done a comparison with the current population size, does the current population also include, let's say, property owners that are not primary residents, as well as a comparison to tax revenue?
Yes.
I believe it does. I'll ask Victor that question. I think a lot of them were comparable municipalities, right?
Okay. What I looked at was the municipalities between 3,000 and 5,000 permanent residents.
Permanent, okay.
So, and Central Frontenac has 4,000 permanent residents. So you make a really good point about the research that I did, in that it does not reflect seasonal residents because I could not capture that data. So
right.
There were, I think, 41 municipalities that I found that had permanent residencies of 3,000 to 5,000. And there's no way I could find in those municipalities how many seasonal residents they had. So that was the data that I had. So your point about it being statistically inaccurate, there, you do have a point about that. I cannot claim that the municipalities that I looked at have a similar ratio between permanent and seasonal.
Maybe there, Victor, is an opportunity. The lake associations have data. I know we do. Right, Mitch? Maybe Mitch can comment on that later. We have, just clarification, that we have the right as owners, even though we're not permanent residents, to vote, and also to be represented on council, correct?
For sure. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. So the little study I did, it was not a graduate student level study. I'll just say that. But it was to try to capture just some sense of where other council sizes are at.
Makes sense. Yep. So if we can help in that with the Lake Association, I know we have some data and we do surveys. Maybe we can assist with that. So thank you, Ms. Mayor, for the the confirmation. Thank you, Victor.
Okay.
Madam Mayor, I see Councillor Gowdy's hand up. I don't see anyone else's hand up at this time.
Go ahead, Nikki.
My question, I guess, is to Victor, through you, Madam Mayor. Victor, did you use the current 2020 census data, or were you using an earlier census data?
I was actually using a website out of Germany that, I don't know why there was a German website that captures that kind of information. For the population sizes, I am not sure which census year it was, but again, this is not a graduate student level survey. Populations don't increase or decrease by that big an amount per year. And starting at 3,000 and limiting my range from 3,000 to 5,000, I thought I would capture the 4,000 range.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we have another request from Bill Wilson.
Yeah, I just wanted
Go ahead.
to point out to sort of back what Victor was just saying. on the statistical side of permanent residents versus seasonal residents. The last 2 years, from my own experience and looking at my own neighborhood, there is a very fine line that's hard to distinguish between who is a residential, who is a seasonal versus a permanent resident, especially over the last 2 years, because a lot of seasonal residents have made this township their permanent home.
And cottages are not just cottages anymore, they're year-round homes, so you can be at them in every season.
That is correct, and I think that it's a fool's game to try to pinpoint precisely how much or what those numbers truly are. I think you can only ballpark them. So I wouldn't criticize Victor too much for the work that he did, because finding that information is difficult, and it will be a moving target, especially under the circumstances of COVID. And I strongly believe that a lot of the folks that were seasonal residents have come to the conclusion that this place is now their home. I mean, I talked to many of them on our road or around us, and they are now permanent residents, even though they still call this their cottage. So thanks, I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. And certainly we've all seen some growth over the past 2 years with the number of new buildings going into our community. So we are growing, no question about it.
Madam Mayor, I just wanted to advise you that Cindy Kelsey's internet crashed, so she has joined us by phone, and I've moved her over. She's the phone number that's now in the loop.
Oh, okay.
And
thank you.
Hand up now. I'm just going to move Bill off, and a question or comment from Mitchell. Again, I'll move you over.
Thank you again for your time. What about a suggestion, Victor? Thanks for your work and what Bill Wilson was saying. Could we not, as lake associations, I know with ours, we have a system in place, database by our VP Art. Could we not assist you in the permanent versus the seasonal residents? And could we not also ask that of the other lake associations? That would absolutely maybe be beneficial for you to determining a better number. I'd be more than willing to help in whatever way I could.
I'm not so sure for this decision we need the number. I think regardless whether it's 4,000 or 7,000, the range that we looked at was still within that 3 to 5 to 7,000. So I think the offer is great, Mitchell, and maybe we can do that, but I don't think we need that before this decision is made.
Well noted, Madam Mayor. Just thought I'd put it out there. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thanks for the offer. And we're going to take you up on some of these offers. Now that we've got your name, look out.
Okay.
Who else do we have?
Anyone else wishing to speak? They can use the raise hand feature. Okay, just a moment. We have Louise Moody moving over.
Hello, Louise.
Good evening. Thank you for welcoming feedback and being able to have a discussion. And when I first read this, a couple of questions that came to mind or food for thought is one, putting it on the election. I think people who come out to vote are probably the people that care and are engaged in the political process. And if you consult with those at the next election, to me, it would be really representative. I'm not sure if everybody's comfortable on Zoom or writing, and it would be broad. And it would also, maybe people who haven't heard about it will see it when they go to vote. I also wondered the question about permanent or seasonal. You must have a voters list when you do your voting. Would that not give you, maybe not population, but it would give you all voting adults? And I'm assuming all the seasonal residents. And I'm curious, because if I lived in the city of Ottawa and I had a cottage here and I moved here, am I a seasonal resident to the city of Ottawa? And how do other groups manage that, because we have lots of neighbors here who are living here full time and seasonally live in their other home. So maybe the world has shifted with COVID and we can turn the table on what is a seasonal resident and what time. My other question, and it's not in any of your options, being a newcomer and, here more than 5 years, but not 10, why do we keep wards? Would it not be better to vote if we're looking for less people, that if the 4 people that you have don't represent a constituent, but maybe can represent different groups of people? So it's not by your geography of where you own a piece of property or not. But it could be that it would give room for some diversity on council and people to actively choose someone not within their ward. So myself, for example, I've only been here for 1 election and there was no election for my ward, and I had no option to have a discourse. And I think there's room in the future maybe to be looking at Frontenac County to see how we need to be structured. And as every small municipality or township keeps all of their traditional wards, we continue to be a county divided by small groups, and maybe it's time, both in the township level and as we move up, to broaden that representative to the council. So I probably opt for number 1, status quo in the short term, and I would highly recommend putting it on the ballot and get feedback from the people who actually are engaged in municipal politics so that they can have a comment. So thank you for the opportunity.
Okay, thank you, Louise. Some good things for us to think about. One of the things with the ward system is when we amalgamated, that is when the ward system was created. And we've kept it that way. And the actual amalgamation set up the 2 councillors from each ward and the mayor elected at large. So that has been since amalgamation, which was 1998, right, Bill? You were,
Yes,
you
that's
were the
correct.
person back then.
So basically what Louise is suggesting her preference is status quo.
Yes. Or opening it up to no wards and everyone elected at large was the other comment that she made.
Yeah,
and also putting it on the vote coming up in November, I guess, as a referendum question.
That's right.
Which
Or consider one level of government in Frontenac, not being at a county level.
Now that's going a little far.
No, but I heard
that's a big step from here.
That's what I concluded from her comments.
I think we'd have to get rid of wards first before we start looking at 1-tier system, but okay.
Sorry, I'm going to move Louise back over. She put her hand back up. So
Okay, good.
All right, go ahead, Louise.
Just an opportunity to explain. If it was 1998 that we created the wards and we amalgamated, we're 20 years in. Maybe it's a vision for 50 years that there could be 1 county and we could be making slow progress towards it. I don't think it needs to be immediate, and I'm not wanting anything revolutionary, but I do think from an economic, and it doesn't make sense that our roads are managed by each township. I think there's opportunities, and I think they're coming. I know you're aligning on certain levels, so it might be a long-term vision, but maybe if we all worked as one as a township, we might move closer to being one as a county in not my future, but my kids' future. So thank you.
Okay.
Exactly. Good. Okay.
All right. Do we have anyone else who wishes to speak and can use the raise hand feature?
I just want to say that I believe our last election, there was like a 30% turnout, but I think part of that is because there was one or 2 wards that there was not an election in. So voter turnout can be very low depending on what's going on.
Yes, because we did have, I think it was the Oso ward or district 3. They were acclaimed and the mayor was acclaimed.
Madam Mayor, I I've been around a long time, and I want you to know that after restructuring happened, for the public to understand, there was, if you wanted to reduce the size of council, and it has changed since then, but you needed a triple majority to be able to change the size of council. So there was a referendum put on one of the early elections after the restructuring order, and we got a double majority from the voters, but we didn't get the triple majority. And I can't remember what the third majority was that we missed on. I think it might have been that the majority of taxpayers did not, or majority of voters did not vote. But you needed 3 levels to be in favor of reducing or changing the size of council. But as Kathy has pointed out, that has changed, and now we can basically approach it from whatever position that we want. And basically the process that we're going through right now. If there's a urgent need to change council, then the process that we're following today is what we have to do. So I just want to give you a little history there. So.
Also too, Madam Mayor, just so that I know there were some questions in regards to, and Michael just sent me through the information from MPAC, and I'm just looking to see what year that is, talking about residents compared to non-residents. Non-residents, 6,510, and residents are 3,665. That's coming right from MPAC. And that's a 20 elect, and that's in getting ready for the election for 2022.
Really, that's 10,000 people, 10,000 voters.
Yes.
I remember it being 7, so it is growing.
Yes, it is. So.
Okay, I'm going to move over Mitchell Loffman again.
Sorry, I gotta,
Again,
I always like my input, but you know what? Great information, Bill. I didn't know that. That's awesome. And same to you, Kathy McMunn. And Madam Mayor, I think you touched on a very, very vital point that not only just involved our municipality, but the federal election. People need to get out there and vote. We have the right to vote and our input. And I don't know what the answer is, but to get more people involved. And I think what you guys are doing tonight, it's awesome.
Good. Okay. Right. Do we have any more people to talk to us?
If there is anyone else who wishes to chime in, please use the raise hand feature and I can move you over. Well, I see no one else, Madam Mayor.
Okay. Maybe I could ask Kathy just to give us a bit of a synopsis of the written comments we've received so far.
Okay.
Sort of what the.
For sure. Of the emails, we received 9 emails, and of the 9, 3 asked, they were voting for the status quo, so that's the 9-member council. We had 1 person voted for a 6-member council, which meant our mayor and the deputy mayor also to be elected at large, the 2 elected at large, and 1 for each ward. And we had 5 members voted for 5 people voted for 5 members.
Okay, how much longer is it up on the website? Is it closed now or for comments?
No, as far as I know, it's still on the website.
Okay, so up until we actually discuss this at our November 23rd meeting, we can still receive comments from folks. And people will hopefully feel free to send emails to the councillors, to the deputy mayor, to the mayor, and to the office, and we'll forward them on and get them all out to everyone so that we have everybody's comments. Does anyone else have anything to add from council tonight? Okay. If not, if there's no one else in the public to add any more comments, I will call a vote on the motion. That was the motion that we read to receive people's input tonight and to bring it forth to our meeting November the 23rd. So these comments, the written comments we receive and any further comments that we get between now and our next meeting. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Motion's carried. Do we have any other new business to deal with, Kathy?
None, Madam Mayor.
Okay, I have a motion moved by Bill McDonald and seconded by Cindy Kelsey that bylaw number 2021-60 being a bylaw to confirm the special meeting of council held on November the 16th, 2021, be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed this 16th day of November 2021. And further, that this meeting be adjourned until 4 p.m. on November the 23rd, 2021, said meeting to be held virtually. And it is 6:40 adjournment time. All those in favor? Motion's carried. Okay. Good night, folks. Thank you for your time and thank you for everyone who participated. That was great. Good to have discussions on this kind of stuff.